And we're back. This is the great classic rock debate. I'm Kenny.
I'm Paul with zero qualifications.
And I suppose we're Steveless again tonight, unless he decides to join us later in the show. And either way, we're good. If you happen to be watching right now, please like, comment, and subscribe. We talk anything and everything classic rock. We try to have fun. We try to keep it interesting. Several weeks back, we did a show on Boston. I titled that video The Rise and Fall of Boston. And I chose that title because I really believe that Boston had a rise. And even though they had a #1 song in 1986 with Amanda, I really felt like that song began the decline, the fall. And retrospectively, I believe it did. I think that, I mean, their career was pretty much over once that Amanda phase had passed. So I want to sort of do a chronological look at Heart tonight and follow the same sort of thing, where they started in the 70s, they sort of peaked. I mean, massive sales in the 80s, and then a fairly quick fall after that. So because I'm a couple years older, I'm going to start. I was actually 15 years old when their first album dropped, which was titled Dreamboat Annie. And the lead single from that album was, do you want to tell me?
Magic Man.
Crazy on You. All right.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
that came before Magic Man? Oh,
Correct.
wow.
Correct. Yeah. Now, this is really interesting because we've talked before how in the 70s, radio was really governed and restricted by that 3-minute rule. They wanted songs to be 3.5 minutes, but they didn't want them to be 5 minutes or 6 minutes. They wanted them to be short. If the songs were short, just as they were in the 50s and 60s, you could get more songs. If you get more songs, you could fit in more commercials. Exactly, exactly. So it was very deliberate. It was very calculated, keeping the song short. So Crazy on You was released as a single. It charted in May of 1976 when I was 15. You and I also talked in that Boston show about how the second half of the 70s, it was a weird time for rock. It just seems like there was less rock output, and it also felt like the music companies or the recording companies were de-emphasizing rock in favor of disco. They were pushing out the disco. It was making a lot of money, and rock seemed to be taking a back seat. So when you had a band like Boston or Heart, either one are good examples, who come out, they're new bands, and they're making rock, and they're making it in the style that at least nowadays we call classic rock. They're not doing anything crazy and different. It's just good hard rock, guitar-driven hard rock, and they're good at what they do. So Heart comes out with this song "Crazy on You," and it does pretty well on the radio, and everybody's hearing it now. I can tell you, I heard it and I liked it. But what I never imagined back in 1976 was that over the years, this song would grow in stature for me, maybe not for anybody else, for me, until it eventually became like a top 10, what they call like an island, desert island song, because what happened a few years later, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but what happened a few years later, I think I bought the Dreamboat Annie album in either 81 or 82. And up until then, I didn't know that Crazy on You had an instrumental intro. I didn't know. I had no idea. I'd never heard it before. It's like an acoustic.
Oh,
Anyway,
good.
oh my God. Once you hear that, it adds an entirely brand new dimension to what is already a great rock song, and it launches it into a whole new stratosphere, as far as I'm concerned. And I was like, wow, who knew all these years the radio was playing the edit, I don't want to say the short version, but they left out that intro part. And once I heard that, I go, okay, I always liked this song, but man, it just taken it to a new level. And now this is one of, for me, probably a top 10 classic rock songs of all time. Okay, go.
on another night, I want to do a show, and I don't want you to look it up. I want you to go from your memory because
Okay.
this is visceral.
Okay.
How many songs where they pulled out the solo in it or shortened it and ruined it for radio airplay? And this is the one of the few songs while you were talking, you made me think where the solo that was at the beginning of the song, so it's easy to chop.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, so we can go into it later about how many
I
songs.
mean,
Like, oh
that's
my
a
God.
great show topic, and they have absolutely gutted, and I mean ruined, great songs. Yeah, the one that comes to mind instantly is "Lion Eyes" by the Eagles, because they take out the entire middle verse, which just changes the song and ruins it, as far as I'm concerned. But
Oh
we,
wow.
we won't go down this road. We won't go down this road now, but that's a great future topic.
Yeah.
Okay, any comments on for "Crazy on You"?
Well, I saw a thing on them, and evidently Anne is 2 or 3 years older than
That
Nancy,
is correct. Yeah,
and
Anne was the
she was already,
vocalist. Nancy was the guitarist.
so Anne was already playing in a band or bands, and her sister, I can't remember, she was already goofing around with a guitar, but she was doing something else with her life, and then she begged her to come back and join this band. And I mean, I play for my daughter. I said these are two sisters playing in a band, and they are just superstar awesome.
Right.
Go
Right.
ahead.
And in that moment in time, 76, I mean, I guess it
It was
wasn't
not
unheard of to have a rock band with a girl vocalist, but the fact that the two girls were the vocalist and the lead guitarist, and not just that, but they were the nucleus of the band. The three guys were in the background of the two girls, which is not to dismiss or discount the three guys. Okay. So that was that. I don't want to get too bogged down because we got a lot to cover. So Crazy on You, first single, great song. I find out later it's got this amazing intro to it. Second single is Magic Man, which was actually a bigger hit, went higher on the charts than Crazy on You. And again, has, in my opinion, stood the test of time. Still sounds great to this day. Okay. So those were the two singles, and that introduced the world to Heart. Now, I'm gonna sort of jump to the future because I want to stay on this album for just a moment. I'm going to jump all the way to 1978. It's a freshman in college, and it was the Thanksgiving weekend, Thanksgiving holiday of my freshman year. And my roommate and I were driving home, and we were coming home, heading to South Florida, and we were less than an hour to home. And at that time, WSHE, She Radio out of Fort Lauderdale, that was the biggest rock station in South Florida. My roommate was a big, Dave was his name. He was a big rock and roll guy. So he had managed to tune in WSHE while we were probably somewhere up around Fort Pierce or something like that. The signal was good enough. Okay, so we're heading home. We're less than an hour away. We have been drinking the whole way, by the way. So we're somewhere around Hobe Sound, 25, 30 minutes from home. And he says to me, I have to stop and go to the bathroom. I can't hold it any longer. So we pull into an all-night convenience store. It's 2:30 in the morning, something like that. He runs inside, but leaves the car running and the radio on. And as he's using the bathroom, this song comes on, a song that I've never heard before. All right. And I'm listening to it. And I'm going, I don't know what this is, but I kind of like it. And then the vocal comes in, and I go, holy crap, that sounds like Heart. Keep in mind, at this time, Heart had recently released a new album that had Dog and the Butterfly and Straight, I think, was it Straight On? Yeah.
Straight On for You.
Straight On for You. And the album was called Dog and Butterfly, but those two songs had both been on the radio. So now that I'm hearing this song, I'm instantly wondering, is this on that album? But then I hear her singing the lyrics, and she says, oh, Annie, Dreamboat Annie. And that's when I realized, oh my God, this is from the album from 2 years ago. And I've never heard this song once. The title track from Dreamboat Annie, and it's not a hard rocker. Okay. No. It has more of a progressive, I don't know how to describe it. All I can tell you is I had chills when this song
Yeah.
was playing. I had never heard it before. It's my first time ever hearing it. And as he comes out to get in the car and we're driving away, I'm sitting there just mesmerized by the song. So at this moment, I now know that this album, Crazy on You, has not just the single Crazy on You and Magic Man, but the title track, Dreamboat Annie, which is just a fantastic song, never released as a single. So my thoughts on Heart and what I think of them at this moment couldn't possibly be higher, because this is now 76, 77, 78, 3 straight years that they have consistently put out new music. All right, now I'm going back now. I just wanted to throw in that little anecdote. I'm going to go back now to their second album, which would have been, I have it right here because I'm going to forget the name of it. Little Queen. Okay, so Little Queen, then they release 2 singles. I take it back. 1 single, Barracuda. All right. Another great, just great rock song, which still sounds good to this day. What are your thoughts on Barracuda?
I love it. It's just like it it it's one of those songs that forces you to get moving. Like, no, 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 no. Like,
It,
okay, all right,
it
okay.
has a
I gotta get in the radio.
raw, it has a raw, unbridled energy that you just don't find. It's
You know,
rare.
it'd be really funny if we could try this. Get the Roadrunner theme and then hook it to Barracuda, because the Roadrunner thing is Roadrunner. It's got, and then you go right into Barracuda. That'd be
That's
pretty
an
cool.
interesting thought. I'm going to see what I can do with that. I'm going to see what I can do with
Okay.
that. You know, we talked about once in a previous show how that song came to be. Do you recall the story behind that?
Well, I heard her. I think someone said that she likes to do things with her sister.
So what happened was, there at that time, you know, Anne eventually gained weight and was less attractive, but at that time they were both extremely good looking. And I think that you had some of these jackasses in the music rock media who wanted something salacious from them. These 2 attractive, good-looking, hot rocker chicks. And I think they were fairly quiet about their private life, whether they had boyfriends or whatever. In fact, I think one of them, Nancy, was involved with one of the guys in the band, I think. So one of these, at a press conference or some sort of a public thing, one of these Rolling Stone media guys asked, yeah, there's a rumor going around, a rumor I think that he made up. There's a rumor going around that you 2 have a thing going on between you or whatever. And they were just disgusted and I think they walked off the podium or walked off the stage, whatever, when it happened, and sat down and wrote the song Barracuda. In other words, this guy's just a vicious, blood-sucking predator looking for dirt. He's not interested in you as an artist. He's not interested in praising you. He's looking just for something to drag you down. And you know, for years I never knew what that song was about, but when I finally heard that story, I like the song even more because of that.
It's amazing. We can do another show on real events that have spawned songs. I mean, the Montrose things burns down on Lake Geneva, and Richie
Smoke
Blackmore
on the
writes
water.
Smoke on the Water.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. It's like,
Yeah.
that's like, these
I agree.
experiences, they drive. So one thing I liked about Heart was, remember, they're girls,
Right.
females, adult human females,
Right.
and they sing songs that are personal to them. Like the topics in the songs are like when she says,
Right.
"I'm gonna go crazy on you," it sounds like we both had crazy girlfriends. Like, uh-oh.
Right.
And she's like, "Here's what's gonna happen." I don't,
Right.
you know, and then Barracuda as well, and then Magic Man. I mean, that's like a very personal song.
That's a good song. Yeah.
I mean, but it's their personal. It's not like girls, we're gonna go down and screw the girls
Right.
at the strip club, right? They're like from a woman's viewpoint, which is very
Right.
interesting.
I agree.
And,
No, totally agree.
and most women don't tell you, like, unless they're really angry and they're doing it in song format, telling you this isn't cool and this is wrong. You know, and you're like, okay, like,
Right. Right.
respect.
Okay, so now we're going to move on. The next album after Little Queen was Magazine, which was in the early part of 78. And I'm emphasizing early because they did release Dog and the Butterfly late in 78. And the hit from the early part of 78 was Heartless, which was
Oh,
actually, yeah, which was great song, which was actually recorded back in 76, but was not released at that time. So so at this time now, we've got Crazy on You, Magic Man, Barracuda, and Heartless. I mean, honestly, if you're a new band and you've got 4 singles in a row of that quality, the listeners have to believe this, they're going somewhere. These guys are going somewhere. You know, they're good. Okay, late part of 1978 is when they release Dog and Butterfly. All right, first song, Straight On. That was released in October of 78. Another great rock song, really, really good rock song, which is now 5 in a row rock songs for them. And now the next single after that, which was released in, that would be March of 79, Dog and Butterfly. And that was a softer, I thought it was a really good song,
very
but
good song.
yeah. And plus, I think any artist runs a risk of being too linear with their sound. You got to do things that are at least a little bit different. And so I thought it was great that they did a song. I don't know if I would call it a ballad, but it was just a slower, softer song, but emphasizing the vocals. Let me add right here. I don't know if this makes me outrageous or crazy, but Ann Wilson, I think an argument can be made that she's the greatest female rock vocalist who's ever lived. You know, and if somebody disagreed, that's fine. But
I mean,
her vocals are
as far as output, other maybe Stevie Nicks. That's it. I mean, if you think about it.
right.
Now, as far as vocal ranges, other people. Anyway, we're not going to go down that road tonight.
Okay. I would say that Stevie Nicks has an awesome voice and certainly a more unique voice, but the notes that Ann Wilson nails.
Oh, no.
Whoa, scary.
She got a powerful. I'm not trying to say that at all.
Right.
I
No,
mean,
no, I guess.
like skill plus. There's a lot of opera like Pat Benatar.
Right.
She was an opera singer, right? That's how she got that
Right.
was. So
Right.
she could also, So I don't know. And Pat Benatar had quite a few hits. So
Right. Okay. We are now jumping forward to 1980. The album was titled Bebe Lestrange. Okay. Bebe or
yeah,
Bebe. I don't know how you pronounce it. Bebe.
maybe
Okay.
Lestrange.
Bebe Lestrange. It had 2 singles. Even It Up was one. And the other, well, you know what? The other one must have not
With maybe
charted.
Lestrange.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It was, as a matter of fact. You're exactly
Yeah.
right. The title track. Thank you for bailing me out. I was looking like an idiot there. But these songs, which I thought were both good songs, but their chart action was significantly less. Both of these songs, not only were their sales less, they didn't go high on the charts. And I think that for Heart, or perhaps for their record company, this suggested something in the formula was either it needed change or something wasn't working as well. And the album sold fairly well, but not as well as the early ones. Okay. I got to tell you, I think they're both great songs. Even It Up
Yes.
and Bebe Lestrange, I think they're great songs. Okay. So what they did next in 81, I think it was 81, was they released a live album. Let me find it here.
They had Heart. They did Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin on that album, and that got a lot of airplay.
Correct. So they released a live album, and they made a very, what I think of as an odd choice as a single, and it was the song Tell It Like It Is. I didn't know this at the time, but that is a 60s R&B song done by Aaron Neville.
Oh.
Yeah. It was a pretty big hit. Early 60s, yeah. It strikes me as an odd choice for Heart, a really hard rock sound, to do this song. I've never been a big fan of covers. We've talked about it. There are exceptions that blow the roof off, but for the most part, I think covers are ill-advised, because the best you'll usually do with a cover is, well, it pays homage to the original, but it doesn't surpass it or anything like that, you know. So I thought that that was a strange choice. And then in 1982, they released an album called Private Audition, and there was one song from that called This Man Is Mine. Do you know that song?
No,
I
I
don't know
don't
it
think so.
either. And it only reached number 33 and was only on the charts for a couple of weeks and then disappeared. So I think at this point, it really appeared, if you're a fan or even the record company, it appeared like, okay, these guys are now on the
Run their course.
downside of their career. Yeah. So I think the record company at this point was probably losing interest in investing more money. And with Heart, what are you going to do? Your sound isn't working, so you've got to somehow change it up and do something different. Now,
They did.
they did, yeah. Now, you and I have talked many times about, there's so many bands that fit this description. REO Speedwagon, Foreigner, Styx, yeah,
Boston.
Journey, Boston, yeah, where they played hard rock early. They softened it and made it into a more mainstream pop rock kind of sound. To be fair, we try to always be fair. It worked out for them in sales and in profits. Okay. And we know that when the record company says to you, hey, we love you and all that, but if you want to keep recording on our label, you got to sell records. We know record companies do that. So in that sense, they changed their sound and they made the record companies happy. But at the same time, you alienate your root audience, the guys who have been with you since day one, because they say, what in the hell are you playing? What happened to the rock that made me love you guys in the first place? All right. So what Heart then did was they go back to the drawing board. And in 1985, they released an album just titled Heart, self-titled Heart. And I mean, if I'm being honest, I liked the album, but it was a different sound. The songs were rock songs, but not hard rock songs. They were a softened pop rock sound. They were catchy. They were well written. They were well crafted. And of course, Ann Wilson's vocals are always good. I'm going to name a few of them. The first single was What About Love, reached the top 10 in 85. The second single, Never, reached number 4 in 1985. So, and the album went to number 1 on the album charts. So while they're now suddenly resurging on the charts and in sales, and I'm sure in concerts also, people like me and you are going, they're not really rocking the way they used to. And I feel a sense of loss. I can hear the song and say I like it, but at the same time going, it's not crazy on you. Something's missing. We use the testosterone metaphor. These songs have no testosterone. They don't. So
I think. Go ahead. I'll tell you.
Okay, all I was going to say is we jump forward into 1986, and they released the ballad, same album, These Dreams. The vocals were done. It's a great song. The vocals were done by Nancy. It turns out that Ann was sick. She had something going on with her voice and she couldn't sing. And so Nancy stepped in and did the vocals. That song went to number 1 on there's Heart's.
I did not know that.
Yep.
Sorry, Nancy. Yep. I love you still.
Yeah, I do too. It was Heart's first number 1 song. Okay, listen, I don't want to steal from anybody. Professor of Rock did a video recently on These Dreams and how Ann was not available to sing, and Nancy stepped up and knocked it out of the park. And she never did lead vocals on anything. So she did in that case, and it's a great song. It really is. I mean, I can't say anything bad about the song. And at that time, Heart had not really done a lot of what you would call a ballad. This song was a full-fledged ballad, not a power ballad, just it was a ballad. But the lyrics were great. And, it had a great video too. It really had it was a cool video.
Exactly. I'm not sure if I even remember it, but
if you saw it, you would remember. And that reminds me, I want to do a future topic on, did MTV cause the downfall of rock? Because there's a guy on YouTube named Andy Edwards. I think he was a drummer in some British rock band somewhere in the past. His videos are really good, and I do recommend them. He claims MTV ruined rock. And I don't know if that's true or not, but it's something to think about and talk about. Anyway, so this album, self-titled Heart, released in 85, spawned 3 top 10 hits, one of which went to number 1, These Dreams. So they were back on top of the world and selling crazy number of albums.
Hey, you should look up if they had switched labels.
They did. They did.
So
they did switch labels.
To the label.
Right. They did switch labels. Yeah, the other label let them go. Say, hey guys, we love you, but you're not selling records anymore.
I can't remember anymore.
I don't remember either. But this is definitely a new label. They followed that album up with, let me find it here, after Heart, Bad Animals in 1987, which it was a continuation of the pop rock style, all right? And the first single, which was a ballad titled Alone, and she hits notes that are unthinkable. Ann Wilson does in this song. Lyrically, it's powerful because she's singing it from the perspective of a girl sitting alone in her home, almost obsessed with this dude who she can't tell, or she hasn't told how she feels about him or whatever, but she wants to tell him. And that song resonates because every one of us at one time or another has had some sort of thoughts or feelings or something towards this person who doesn't know. Either they don't know or they don't even know that we exist, whatever it is. So it's a song that resonates, and man, she delivers just a grand slam home run on that song. Again, went to number 1. So after These Dreams and then Alone, they've now hit number 1 twice in a row after being chopped by their previous record label. So again, they're on top of the world. The follow-up song to that was called Who Will You Run To, which went to number 7 also in 1987.
Oh, very good. I like that.
Yeah, pretty good song.
Are you going to get to Looks Could Kill? Is that coming up? Or if Looks Could Kill, You'd Be Lying on the... I like that song, actually.
Okay, that was actually from that same album. That was from the self-titled 1985 album.
Okay, sorry.
You know what? Let me double check that to make sure, but I think it was. And that is a good song, by the way. All right. I can't find it now, but
if looks could really kill, there's no human race.
Right. Okay, so I can't find it right now, but I'm 99% sure it was from the 1985 album. Okay, so listen, we got our warning, so I'm going to jump forward to 1990, which for me was the end. They released a song called All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You, 1990. I thought it was awful. It bore no, other than Ann's vocal, which is always good, it bore no resemblance to anything they had ever recorded. It was more like a Celine Dion song or something. It had zero rock element in it. It was just a soft pop song. It charted well. It went to number 2 on the charts and stayed there for 2 weeks. But once that song was recorded and played on the radio, I said my reaction was the same as it was when I heard Amanda by Boston. I go, this is the end. It's over for them. I mean, if this is what they're now doing, there's nowhere to go from here other than Sayonara. And it was. They actually charted 1 or 2 songs after that, but they were very low on the charts and didn't sell anything. And then I don't know if they broke up after that, but that was the end of their chart career because nothing else charted after that. So, a great start, a unexpected, impressive resurgence in the 80s as a pop rock band, and then a kind of a bad ending there in 1990. So give me any thoughts that you have there. We're running out of time, so we won't have.
It's just sad that you would figure they would have inspired two other sisters somewhere in the United States to start a band that would have, but no, it didn't happen. And because I think it's really hard with those sister or Wilson sisters, it's hard to
Yeah.
come up with songs, melodies, singing the words. It's hard, and that's what I was telling you earlier. The greatest metaphor of any rock star, in my opinion, Dave Mustaine came up to shoot a music video and like $150,000 Mercedes, opens the trunk, and I thought there was an AK-47 in there because it was just, you open up and it's a guitar, and he pulls the guitar out of his trunk. The whole trunk is one guitar case.
Wow.
He picks it up, and I'm like, first of all, I'm the biggest Megadeth fan ever.
I
But I'm
know.
just saying, this guy has everything. What could motivate him to write a song?
Right. Right. That's a good point.
And then, but what with Megadeth, they changed the way they write. In other words, he must have went through some personal divorce, women issues, because he has a whole album talking about that. So you're like, now that's something like we talked about earlier. Something happens in your life that motivates you to let this out. So maybe maybe everything was great for them. I know Nancy married Cameron Crowe, right?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
So, if your life is good, you got 100 million in the bank.
Right.
My pool is really great.
Right.
I love going, to the beach in Cancun or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's the hardships and anxieties and passions of life that inspire art and inspire you to write songs. And if you're not having anxieties or hardships or trouble, how inspired are you going to be? So
Yeah, so it's just putting that's what's amazing about The Cure. That guy, he can
Robert
somehow
Smith,
he brings it. Robert Smith, yeah. So,
yeah,
but
he's a
we love art.
fantastic songwriter. Yeah. The Cure is not classic rock, but we could do a show on The Cure one of these days.
Yeah,
great songs. Okay, so listen, before we say goodbye, do you have any songs or particularly any heart songs? You said If Looks Could Kill, so if you want to throw that one in, but we can make a nomination to the classic rock playlist.
Well, I say go listen to on that live album. They do a really good cover of Rock and Roll, and the drummer, I can't remember the original. He does the good beat down at the end, like Robert John Henry Bottom does. So it was a tribute, and they also cover, which we left off, Battle of Evermore.
Oh, okay.
Which is Led Zeppelin 4. That's a cover, in my humble opinion, that it's right there with Zeppelins.
Okay. All right.
So,
all right. I mentioned on a previous show that they played at Auburn in 1980, and I saw them, and I remember them playing Rock and Roll. So that was that. Okay. So I'm just going to reemphasize what I said earlier, and that is the title track from their first album, Dreamboat Annie. What a great song. Unexpectedly, what a great song. I had never heard it. So if you haven't, treat yourself, pull it up on YouTube or go play it or whatever. Dreamboat Annie by Heart. Oh my God. It's wonderful, and you're going to love it.
Great song.
Okay. Well, that's going to be a wrap for tonight. That's our show on Heart, the rise and fall of Heart. So I hope it was interesting. If you happen to be watching right now, please like, comment, and subscribe. We will love you for that. In the meantime, I'm Kenny.
I'm Paul.
And we will see you next time.